Welcome to the Insecure Chef again, and today we're going to be doing what I'm calling the Ninja Foodi spicy or not marinara sauce with sausage and pasta. So we're going to start with, of course, the Ninja Foodi. I'm going to be turning that on, and I'm going to dump in my penne. This is a half a pound of penne. Well, probably less, but it's really up to you, depending on how much you want. If you're going to go a lot bigger, then you're going to have to change the ingredient quantities for the rest of the stuff. But this is good enough for me, because this is going to be just for me tonight. So I'm pouring that into the foodie. There's nothing else in there. And then I'm going to follow that up with about a cup and a half of water. I cheat a little bit. I use hot water, so it doesn't take so long to come to temperature when we do pressure cook. So I'm going to be putting that on top. And the only really important aspect of this is to try to make sure you're covering all the pasta that's in there. And you can take a quick look, if you will. And you see it is. And but most important is you got to have at least a cup and a half of water, regardless. So if you need 2 cups to cover it, fine. But no less than a cup and a half, regardless. All right. So I'll be right back. Let me get the top. I'm going over to get the pressure cooker top. And just so I know where it is. And then we're going to go to the next step. And this is where it gets more interesting. I'm taking the trivet, okay? And I'm going to put it right on top of the pasta that's in there. So if you want to take a look, and you can see, it looks a little strange, but it's there. All right? And with that, I'm taking my peppers that I'm going to be using. These are 2 different colored peppers. By the way, as always, the recipe will be on the site. So I'm going to take peppers. I'm going to use my hands, if you don't mind. Hopefully I didn't cut them too small so they don't fall through the rack. Now that I'm looking at it, I may have not done a good job. I forgot how wide these spaces are. So I'm going to have to compensate for that in a minute. We'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that, but I underestimated. You think I would know. I underestimated the gapping. So all I did, as you see, is I just put a piece of aluminum foil there. Because all we're going to be doing is softening up these peppers, because we're going to pressure cook in a moment. So the foil is not a problem whatsoever. So I'm going to, again, go back to my hands, and I'm going to put on the peppers. Okay, those are the sweet peppers. And here are Italian hot pepper. You can use jalapeno peppers. You can use habanero peppers, whatever you like. So it doesn't have to be hot and spicy if you don't want it. All right, so hopefully I've got that right. So the pasta's in there, the water's down there. I've put on the peppers, and now I'm going to pressure cook this for only 3 minutes. So let me get the pressure cooker lid on here, making sure, of course, that it's set on the seal side. All right. All right, so that's locked in. I'm going to hit pressure cook. It'll default to high. And then I'm going to pressure cook this for just 3 minutes. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to hit start, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, as you see, we're down to about 5 seconds at this point. Once the cycle pressure cooking is done, which it is now, I'm going to release the steam. I'm going to do that right now. It's a quick release. And that'll take, a minute or so. So as soon as that's done, we'll continue. All right, we're back, and pressure's just about to drop. I'm waiting for the little red pin to drop down, and that should happen momentarily. There it is. It just did that. So now we can take the press off, get him out of the way, and we can take the pressure top off. Being very careful again of the water. I'm just going to move this. Just going to move this over here, get it out of the way. And now I'm going to take the trivet out, just let it stand hopefully peacefully over here. Okay, and that should have the peppers nice and softened. And now I'm going to take out the pot itself with the pasta inside. That should be cooked very well. And I'm going to drain that. If you look, you'll see I'm using the air fry basket as a colander. So I'm going to throw that in there. Yep, just a few pieces left. Hold on, stay there. Okay. I'm just going to get this out of there. All right, a few pieces. All right, and that's the last of them. Okay, so as you can see, the pot is now empty. I'm going to bring it back over here. And I'm going to do what I call a quick tape paper dry. And the reason I'm doing that is next step is to do a little sautéing. And I don't want any real water in there when I put the sausage and the pork and any oil I might use. But okay, so I'll close this now because we're going to be changing functions. I'm going to take a little water. You could use oil or you could use nothing. I like putting a little water in the bottom of the pot, not much at all, just to make sure that the meat initially doesn't stick. Because we're going to start with the first step is to saute the pork, which is still in the refrigerator. So, alrighty. Okay, all this was here was a hot pork sausage. You could do it with sweet, or you can do it with breakfast sausage, or it doesn't have to be sausage at all. But that's what I'm using here, so I'm just going to break it up just a little bit more. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the saute button. I'm going to start it at medium-high, and then give it a start. All right, so we got to give that a minute or so to heat up. I might speed the process up just initially by going to high. But when I actually do the sauteing, I like to work usually on medium-high. But you can use your own judgment on that, how it's working with your machine. So the steps we're going to follow now will be the sauteing of the pork, and then eventually we're going to follow that right behind with the onions and the garlic and the bell pepper and the jalapeno or whatever, the hot pepper you have, and the onions, etc. So, yeah, I'm going to throw these in, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. So we'll start with that first. I don't know. It's going to get there. All right. I'm going to just stir that around a little bit and let it get started. So I'll let that stand there for a minute. Okay. I probably should have took a break so you guys don't have to sit here and watch the water boil, but it usually comes up pretty quick. So. All right, as you look now, you can see the pork sausage is browning up very nicely. And because it is pork, you want to make sure it's just about all cooked, almost completely cooked, because it's going to get more cooking time anyway in a minute. But okay, I think that's a good start there. So the next step is making sure that we are on medium-high for saute. And I'm going to throw in now the onions, the peppers, and anything else you wanted to brown up. So here come the peppers. All right, the peppers are in, and next comes the onions. Put them in. If you cook Chinese food, onions always go in first. Don't ask me why, but in this case, it won't make any difference for what we're making here. All right, so now we're going to stir that around a little bit. You see, it's starting to remotely look like something you might want to eat, and we're going to let that go until the onions are pretty much translucent. All right, as you can see, pretty much now the veggies are doing very nicely. The onions are getting translucent. So at this stage, we're going to make sure that the temperature is still okay. We're not burning anything. I am working on medium-high. You can also use a wooden spoon here to chop up the peppers if they're still a little bit too big for you. It'll be very easy now because they are quite soft. Okay, now I'm measuring out my tomato sauce. Tomato sauce is 2 full cups. Okay, I'm going to put that in right now. All right, tomato sauce is in. going to give that a stir. When you do the sautéing, you have a nice range of temperatures to play with. So, you should utilize that to get it to exactly the way you want it. So we're just going to give that a minute to start to come back up. Shouldn't take long at all. And then we're going to lower the temperature. Once this tomato sauce has gotten hot, we're going to move down to medium-low. And then we're going to start adding the spices. So, let's give that a minute. All right, so we're just going to let that bubble for about 15 seconds. So we know that the sauce is pretty warm. And then we're going to lower it down to medium-low. Move this down now to medium-low. And I'm now going to be adding spices. Now the spices, as you'll see in the recipe, are rosemary, basil, oregano. So I have those already weighed out. So this should consist of all the spices you'll see on the recipe. And then I'm going to add the garlic right behind it. So here go in the spices. Okay. I'm going to make sure that is on medium-low. All right. And now I'm going to add the garlic. That. All right. Again, the measurements of these things are really up to you, depending on how you like your spices and such. I've given you my guidelines in the recipe, but you're more than welcome to change that to whatever you like. All right. Okay. We're going to make sure it is bubbling. If it wasn't, we could raise the temperature a little bit, but it is bubbling, so I'm going to leave it the way it is. And now I'm going to add the sugar. The quantity, again, is up to you. I have the quantity listed in my recipe, but depending if you like your sauce sweeter or not so sweet, it's up to you. So now the sugar is going in. All right. I'm going to stir that around. And we're just going to let it all come together for about a minute or two, and we're done. I'm not remotely trying to indicate that this is like a 10-hour Italian sauce that my lovely wife and assistant here makes, but it is quick enough. It's certainly tasty enough, and it allows you to make small batches of sauce with a lot of variations that other people may not like. Like I can assure you, this particular sauce is quite spicy. So you can do that if you like. So I'm just going to raise this now up to medium, so it comes up, and then I'm going to put it on top of my pasta, which we made earlier, and we'll bid you a bon appetit. So let me get my pasta. Put that on the plate. Okay. Alrighty. Looking good. Looks like pasta. All right. Let me just make myself some room here. Behind you, if you want. That's okay. All right. So with that said, I'm going to shut the Ninja Foodi off, because we'll be done with that. I'm going to get myself a nice ladle. And I'm going to ladle a quantity of this nice sauce over to the top of that. And that pretty much should do it. So, it seems simple enough to me. It doesn't take very long. And again, we've done it all in one pot. Just this pot, so that's really all you really have to do from a cleaning perspective. Most of these ingredients, if you cook anything remotely related to Italian, you'll probably have at house. And that's about it. So, I appreciate any comments, questions. If you like the recipe, please rate it. If you don't like it, you can rate it as well. And please subscribe. Thank you very much. From the Insecure Chef, his wife Regina.
Have a good night.
Good night, folks.